Nice. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you guys had a great session the whole day. And I hope you had a great lunch as well. So yeah, this session is intended to help you get started with Kali Linux and just give you like a small overview on Metasploit. And I'm actually curious, have you guys ever worked with Kali Linux before? Anyone here? Oh, wow, that's a big crowd. Nice, amazing. What about Metasploit? Nice, great. Yeah, let's get started. Just a quick intro about me. Again, my name is Navya. I'm a senior software engineer at Rapid7. I work on the offensive security team, and I primarily work on Metasploit. I'm also a startup co-founder at IdeaStats. We work with founders, product leaders to help validate their ideas and pre-launch their features before they launch their product. I'm also a volunteer at Leading Cyber Ladies. We actually have a booth outside, so if you guys want to drop by, say hi, hello, feel free to join our amazing community. We host lunches once in a while, and we also have a lot of events happening every month. So yeah, in the past, I worked in banking and tech startups. I do have a master's in cybersecurity from Northeastern Boston, and I did do my undergrad at University of Toronto right here, so yeah. Some of the objectives of this workshop, as I mentioned earlier, is to give you a quick overview and intro to Kali Linux, and talk about why it's so popular, and also give you an intro to Metasploit, and do a quick tutorial on some of the most popular modules. For example, in this tutorial, we'll be talking about the PS exec module, and we'll be using the Windows 2018 target machine to do this module. And if we have time, we can do some quick Q&A. I'm hoping this session wouldn't take too long, so let's see where it goes. Just a quick requirements suggestions is to, in case if you're following along today, or if you want to set it up later on as well, just to have a Windows or a Mac OS X system. And it is recommended to use a virtual machine for you to set up your Kali Linux or any other target machines. Instead of setting it up as your host machine, in case if it gets corrupted, you can just delete your VM and reinstall a new one. And some of the virtual machine software that you can use is a VirtualBox or a VMware. In this workshop, I'll be using the VMware Fusion just because it's free. But there's also like the commercial one in case if you're interested in using that one. And the other one that I would like to talk about is the RAM. It is recommended to use 1 to 2 gigabytes to run your Kali Linux with ease. So yeah. So why Kali Linux? I'm actually curious to hear from some of you who mentioned that you had an experience with Kali Linux. How was your experience using Kali Linux, and how did you get started on it? If anyone wants to share their opinions on it. Yeah, go ahead.
So I started with IBM AIX.
Okay.
So that's kind of what led me to Kali Linux. And it's kind of similar. So that's how I found myself here.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. Yeah, so Kali Linux is a Debian-based Linux distribution. It's free, open source, and it's completely customizable for your own purpose. So it's very much user-friendly. And it's mainly targeted for users such as network analysts or penetration testers, but it's also highly encouraged for anyone who wants to get into cybersecurity and try different tools that already come with Kali Linux. Some of the most common tools that are already pre-installed are Nmap, Hydra, Metasploit, Wireshark, etc. I'm sure you must have heard about some of these tools. Have you guys heard about any of these tools before? Yeah, cool. Does anyone want to talk about any of the tools that are mentioned here, like Nmap or Wireshark?
So Nmap is for network mapping,
Yeah.
like knowing which ports are open, which services it is running.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, as you mentioned, Nmap is the network mapper. If you have an IP address of a target machine, you can use it to figure out what are the services that are up and running. And you can also use it to figure out the port that they're running on and also the version number. Using that, you can figure out the vulnerabilities that they have for that specific version and exploit the target machine. And Hydra is a password cracking tool. The cool thing is that you can provide your custom username list or password list that you can use to crack the password of a service such as SSH or FTP and so on. And Metasploit is one of the popular open source pen testing tools that you can use in different stages of your pen test. For example, you can use it doing your recon or exploitation or even the post-exploitation. I'm not going to go in details about the Metasploit at this point because we have a few slides that we're going to talk about in the future. And Wireshark is actually used to capture the network data. Sometimes if the data is, if data in the packets is not encrypted, then you can actually read the data in plain text. And even if it's encrypted, then you can use it to decrypt it using software and then figure out what's actually going down the network. So installing Kali Linux, it is actually pretty straightforward. As I mentioned, in case if you do want to use a pre-built VM, you can just go to the Kali Linux official website where they offer the Kali Linux virtual machines that you can use for different software, such as VirtualBox or VMware or anything else. You can just unzip the downloaded file, open the file using the VirtualBox or VMware. One thing I didn't see in the website is the default password for the username and password. Yeah, it's just like you have to Google it to find out. It could just be on the website, but here's just an information, which is just Kali. Yeah, does anyone have any questions so far before we go into the next one? Cool. This is just a quick overview on how Kali Linux, some of the features, how it looks like and everything. Let me just show you guys, in case if someone hasn't seen Kali Linux, let me just show you guys how it looks like. I'm gonna share my screen for Kali Linux. This is how the main screen looks like for Kali. This is just a terminal. And if you click on its logo, you can see all the tools and features that it offers. It's pretty cool, like how it segregates everything into its categories. For example, if you look at the password attacks, you can see some of the tools such as John the Ripper, and also they also have the word list, so you don't have to build your own word list. You can use their already existing word list in case if you're trying to do like a password cracking, or even wireless attacks. You can use the air crack or the exploitation tools. You can even use the Metasploit. We're going to be doing quick tutorials on some of the tools such as Nmap and Wireshark very soon. Here I have a video in case my demo was not planning to work, but I can just do a quick demo instead. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so in case if you're not familiar with any of the tools, in this case Nmap, you can just search for Nmap here, and it will just show up in your terminal. And it will also show you certain examples on how to actually use this tool. For example, in this case, if you look at this one, it shows you that you can call Nmap, give it some other commands, and provide you the target IP address. In this case, as I mentioned, I do have a Windows 2008 target machine. It is actually a Metasploitable machine, which can be used it has a bunch of vulnerabilities already existing for you to be able to learn how to exploit it using several different tools. In this case, I already have one. I'm going to log into it and then try to figure out the IP address. But if you're trying to get the IP address of a target machine, you can use certain commands like ARP, like address resolution protocol, and figure out what are the systems that are connected to your network and get the IP address of it. Or if it's like a website, then you can use tools such as Shodan and get the IP address of it. Shodan should have a free version, but I heard they do have a commercial version as well. So in case if you're interested in figuring out the IP addresses of a target. I'm just logging into the Windows machine. Sorry for the delay. It's just taking its sweet time to load up the machine. sorry about that. Just a minor hiccups with our presentation today. But thank you for the team out there for resolving it really quickly. Yeah, so since I wasn't able to run a quick demo of the Nmap, we're just gonna go back and watch the video that I created. If we can play the video. So as you can see, this video doesn't have the audio. So we're just search for the Nmap tool. And as we were talking about before, it gives you like an examples on how to use the Nmap tool given the target IP address. As I mentioned, we have a Windows target machine. Here I'll be finding the IP address using the ipconfig command. And I have the IP address 172.16.104.130, which I'll be using against Nmap. I'll be using Nmap along with some other parameters like S and V for me to figure out these services and also the versions of these services. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out the IP address in this video at this point. Yeah, and after we run the command, it's just gonna take some time for it to be able to figure out what are the services that are up and running and give us the versions of it as well. At this point of time, it was taking quite a significant amount of time because I have a lot of process running in the system. So if you could fast forward the video, Aditya, sorry, do you mind fast forwarding the video a tiny bit? Even further down, just so we can look at the results. Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah, thank you, right there, that should be good. As you can see, this is the results. Do you mind pausing it? Thank you. So these are the results that we received after running the Nmap command. And as you can see, we were able to get all the services that are actually running on this machine. There's SSH service, FTP, HTTP, and so on and so forth. And it's running on their default protocols. And it also gives us the version. In this case, SSH is running on OpenSSH 7.1. In this case, we can use the version number to figure out what are the vulnerabilities that are existing on this version and use them to exploit this machine. This is just a quick screenshot of the results that we just talked about before. So let's go to the next one. So this is the Wireshark that we talked about previously, which is the network data capture tool. And we're just going to look at a quick demo. Again, in case if you're not familiar with how to use the tool, you can just search for it, and it will just open up a nice UI for you here. In this case, I'm running the network data capture against my own private network, and I'm just pinging google.com to see what is the information that I'm sending using my virtual machine, and what is the information that I'm getting back. As you can see, there's a lot of information that is being captured by our Wireshark tool, and there's a lot of information, including the time, source, destination, protocol, and also the length info, where you can either dig deeper to figure out what is the data that is being sent and received, and then go from there. This can also be performed when you're using like a login page or like a shopping cart page. You can try to gather the credentials, credit card information, or any other sensitive information using this tool if they're not being secured properly. Yeah, so that was just a quick overview of the Kali Linux and its features. And now we are going to be talking about Metasploit, which is one of the cool tools that I try to use often and almost every day actually at work. Metasploit is actually one of the widely used pen testing tools. Since, as I mentioned before, it actually can be used in different steps of the pen test, such as recon, exploitation, even post-exploitation. You can even write your custom payloads, or you can use their already pre-existing payloads. And they also offer payloads for different OSs like Android, Mac OS, Windows, Linux, so on. And it's a community-driven platform. It's actually built and used most by communities, and there are so many PRs that come in almost every single day, and they raise issues if necessary, and yeah, it's actually very community-dependent source. You can use this tool to actually find system vulnerabilities or use the existing exploits to penetrate a system, or even create your own exploits using the existing payloads, and you can do more. And the cool thing is that this is free and open source for anyone to use and update. This is just a quick overview on Metasploit. That is a GitHub link in case if anyone wants to check it out. And feel free to look at any PRs that are existing as well. You can review them, add comments, so on, even raise issues if you run into issues while trying to use Metasploit. It's mostly written in Ruby, but there are also payloads that are written in Python, Golang, so on. We also have a release every single week on Thursdays, and it's actually divided up into different modules. For example, there's exploits, there's payloads, there's auxiliaries, there's encoders. Just to give you a quick overview there, auxiliaries can be used such as scanners. Exploits can be used to exploit a machine. Payloads, they are divided up into several different ones. There can be a custom payload that you can create and actually push into this code base. And encoders can be used to actually encode a payload in case if you want to encrypt a payload. Yeah, as I mentioned, payloads, there are several payloads for iOS, Android, and so on. Some of the most common components of Metasploit are MSF console that is used to actually spin up Metasploit in your machine. And MSFDB is the database that is used within Metasploit that holds all the exploits or all the data that you might be playing around while using Metasploit. And Metapredator is actually one of the cool parts of Metasploit, which is the Metasploit attack payload. This uses the dynamic link library, and it actually makes sure that this is not using any processes or anything like that. And it is very hard for an antivirus software to actually recognize this Metapredator, and it also uses the reverse TCP to send you a connection back to your host system, so you can still have a connection to your target system, but without anyone finding out. Yeah. Here we'll be looking at an example using the Windows Metasploitable, as I mentioned, which is our target system here. Metasploitable is actually, there are 2 and 3. If you want to, which you can use whichever one you want to use. There's also Metasploitable for Windows and Metasploit for Linux. There is no Metasploit for OS X at the moment, and it is a free virtual machine that you can use to simulate attacks using Metasploit. Yeah, we are going to be playing around with the PSExec module to get a session using our Windows target machine in this video. I'm just searching for the Metasploit framework, but you can spin up this Metasploit using terminal using the MSF console command. Sure. It's just trying to spin up our Metasploit console. It usually doesn't take this much time, just a heads up in case I don't want to discourage you from using Metasploit, it doesn't take this long. Yeah, now that it's opened up, we're going to be searching for the module. I was hoping to actually show you how the code base looks like and how it's actually divided up, but since we are having technical issues, we might not be able to do that today. But if you're looking for a specific module, in this case, I was looking for PSExec, but I misspelled search, so I was searching it again. You can use the pre-built search command in Metasploit to search for a specific module. In this case, I'm trying to use that specific exploit, which is the exploits/Windows PSExec, and I'm looking for the options that I have to set for me to actually run this exploit, which is the rhost, SMB password, SMB user. Do you mind pausing it real quick here, though? Thank you. The reason why I wanted to pause here is that although I knew the SMB user and the password, in this case, for me to run this exploit, you should be able to crack the username and password using the tools like Hydra or John the Ripper, as we talked about before. I was able to crack the password of this specific machine, and since I have that, I was able to exploit that machine. But there are several other exploits that you can use for you to be able to get an access to a session on a target machine. So, yeah. In this case, our host is the, no, that's fine. Our host is the target IP address, which we already have from before for our Windows target machine. I'm just trying to get the IP address again one more time in case if it have changed. And now we're going to be setting the username and the password. In this case, that's just vagrant. And now we're going to run the exploit command for us to be able to exploit the machine. And it's just sending the payload and exploiting the machine. And we should be able to get access to the meta predator, which is the actual session in this case. Yeah, so as you saw at the very end, we were able to get access to the meta predator, and you should be able to run commands like systeminfo or ls or whatever for you to be able to see what's inside that Windows target machine. And yeah, go from there after you get access to the machine. Sorry, can we go to the next slide? If this is not working. Yeah, anyways, but that was the end of our bit of our workshop/session. Even though we have a few hiccups, I hope that was very helpful. And yeah, I hope to see you continue your journey in security. And feel free to drop by our Leading Cyber Ladies booth and join our session. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at my email. And or if you want to link with me on LinkedIn, feel free to scan the code here. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
So if you have an exploit code for a certain vulnerability, so if you have an exploit code for a certain vulnerability, can you use it there?
Yeah.
Should it be in Python, or is it any other languages that it supports?
So are you saying that you have a custom exploit, or are you saying that are there any exploits in this Metasploit with different programming languages?
Oh, no. So if there is something there, that's okay. But if I have like my own exploit code which is not there, how can I upload it there and scan for it?
That's a good question. So Metasploit framework does actually offer you to be able to run your own custom exploits and target the machines that you want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Should it be in certain like language, or it's anything?
No, it doesn't matter.
Supported?
As I mentioned sometime during the workshop, there are exploits that were written in Ruby. Although Ruby is the primary language, there are some exploits written in Python, Golang, even Java as well. Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Do we have any other questions?
Basically, wireless will show up your connections, what activity you are doing on the browser. But if you want to monitor the open network, then you will need the external wireless device, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there are some tools that are actually being sold that you can buy, and then just it is. I don't know if it's recommended, but there are tools that you can use to do
By
that.
HackBuy, right?
I don't know the exact company that does it, but yeah. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So when I do get to Metasploitable and move on to the next command line, I forget the name now, you mentioned it. The target machine always breaks.
Always breaks?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So when I start running commands, to check like maybe the Windows, if it's a Windows 10 or whatever, it always breaks. I'm wondering if you have encountered that and how. What I would do, I would have to reboot my target machine. Just
Oh.
one.
Okay, that's a good question. So I guess sometimes does happen. As you saw, when I was trying to do my demo, it did not load, even though it was working completely fine before. And it's not a Windows 10 machine, it's a very old Windows 2008 machine. It could be the number of reasons. But if you're actually facing an issue where it is getting hard for you to use Metasploitable, you should be able to raise an issue under the Metasploit framework GitHub, and we will take a look at it. Or someone from the community will take a look at it. Thank you, though. Does anyone have any other questions?
Just one question.
Sure.
Have you used a purple distribution by Kali?
Sorry, what was that?
Purple distribution by Kali?
No, I didn't get a chance to, but thank you. I'll take a look at it. Thank you, though. Yeah. That was interesting. That was not me. But yeah, if we don't have, sorry, what was that?
No, there's a door.
Oh, okay.
Is that no?
Yeah, if we don't have any other questions, I'm happy to end this session here. And thank you again for spending time here today. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you.